Hey everyone, Dan here, and for today's video, it's time for you all to be introduced to the other two main characters of My Hero Academia Vigilantes, Kazuo Hanayama, the idol vigilante Popstep, and Koichi Himawari, the Naruhata Vigilante, the Cruller. But before we get started, we hit our goal of 500 likes, but I'm challenging you all to push this time for another 500, so don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to see all of my latest content. And for the first time ever, I think it's time to open up the bar.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Yeah, I got myself an intro. It's pretty tight, right? Shout out to my boy Oshi for helping my vision become reality. So, the Vigilantes. Let's start off with the idol vigilante Popstep. Her quirk is called Leap, and she uses it to hop around and express herself despite not being very good at the whole idol lifestyle. And one day, during one of her impromptu performances, she narrowly avoids the law thanks to our main protagonist Koichi, as he witnessed her performance in passing. He shouted out to her that the cops were on the way, and Pop was able to escape without capture. While in her civilian identity, she's pretty reserved despite her tsundere personality, I believe it's called. Otherwise, she's the brains of the vigilante operation, being that she's a very logical and intellectual person. She does have the habit though of berating both Koichi and Knuckle Duster when either of them acts up in a way that she disapproves of. She also vehemently insists on having no involvement with the vigilantes when talking to the authorities, even though she clearly does. As an idol though, she appears to love singing and performing. She does her performances with tons of enthusiasm and takes a huge amount of pride in her appearances whenever she performs. She even gets Koichi to be her pseudo-manager when she actually gets some steam as an idol. Though her extreme lust for vanity seems to extend to her looks at all times, including when she's not dressed up. But that moment when she saw Koichi during that particular appearance, it reinvigorated her to amend their rocky past. As for what rocky past you might be inquiring about, the thing is, Pop feels a huge amount of guilt and is genuinely apologetic towards Koichi for an incident that happened in the past. One cold fall day, she fell into a canal of some kind, and while she struggled and almost drowned, a random passerby who happened to be Koichi had his first moment of being a hero. Without any questions asked, he jumped into the river, saving Pop's life. Now, the biggest piece of irony still is the fact that Koichi has zero idea that that person was Popstep. The biggest piece of kind of upsetting information was the fact that Koichi saved her on the day that he was supposed to take the examination to attend Hero High School. Koichi that day became a hero, but unfortunately, he was late to the exam. And in this superhuman society, Koichi's dreams of becoming a hero, they ended before they even began. Though this scene teaches us that for Koichi, you don't need a diploma to be a hero. It's what you do in the moment where someone cries out for help that defines you as a person and as a hero. And our best boy Koichi does exactly that, leaving behind his special edition All Might sweater with Pop to warm her up as he trudges back home. Also, a little cool tidbit is that Popstep still treasures that hoodie. She puts it on because it belongs to her hero, Koichi. And unfortunately, there really hasn't been much more for Popstep. She's kind of like an auxiliary character to the Vigilantes. She's always in the background to an extent. She doesn't really get into many fights. Let's hope in the final arc of Vigilantes, we actually see her, make a move. But let's move on to the main protagonist of My Hero Academia Vigilantes, Koichi Himawari, hero name, the Cruller. So, Koichi is currently 19 years old and he's a university student. He has an easygoing, mild-mannered personality, and he's not very good at conversation, often leading him to accidentally insult people when trying to actually compliment them. He tends to be pretty awkward, and when adopting his hero name, people misinterpreted it for a very long time, being known as the Cruller in the translation that we all read currently. I'm pretty sure a Cruller is like a type of donut too. As for when he first started his work in Tokyo, his hero name starts off as Gentleman because of all the good deeds that he would do around town, even though we all know he is not the gentle that we know. People misinterpreting his name has actually saved his secret identity on more than one occasion. For instance, when a reporter known as Makoto Tsukauchi, sister to Naomasa Tsukauchi, cornered him and asked him on the spot if he was the Cruller, she didn't ask if he was the Crawler. So her quirk, Polygraph, was fooled because he simply responded no. As for who he idolizes, he's a massive All Might fanboy. And like Deku, his costume pays homage to the the symbol of peace, consisting of his normal clothes in conjunction with an All Might haired hoodie. As long as he's in some form of disguise or in more or less a deserted area, he sees no problem in using his quirk in public, even though he's not a pro hero. He uses his quirk to do good deeds for the public, such as returning lost items, giving directions, helping people get onto trains, being a cameraman, and recycling. He has a very heroic nature and can't ignore the people that need help. And yes, that is Deku's mom, and hopefully this little panel will help us flesh out our timeline a little bit more. As for his quirk, it's called Slide and Glide, and it enables him to slide over plane surfaces. But to do that, he needs to touch the ground in at least 3 places. Though later on in the story, he discovers he doesn't need to touch the ground in order to propel himself, and he's actually capable of limited flight. And the reason why he can't full-on fly now was that his mother actually built like a complex into him where he actually believed his quirk didn't have the capacity for this type of greatness. He eventually stumbles across more, like the sliding effect actually comes from a repelling force, and that he can actually reverse that force and stick to pretty much any surface. Also, when trying to stop a bunch of villains, he accidentally repulsed one of their rocket arms, showing that he's also capable of repelling items in his palm. Additionally, when he was working with Eraserhead on taking down a next level villain, he broke out his signature move, the Shooty Go Blam, which is a massive amount of repulsor energy that also launches Koichi backwards. This is Vigilantes doing another direct shout out to Dragon Ball again, as the stance that he takes for this maneuver is reminiscent to Goku's Kamehameha wave. His teacher is the quirkless vigilante Knuckle Duster, and the way that they link up is actually pretty funny. Knuckle Duster spots him and calls him out on the spot and says that you wish to be a hero and I'm going to be the person that makes you into a hero. From there, Knuckle Duster forces himself into Koichi's life, even going as far as spontaneously showing up at his penthouse randomly. And despite the chaos that Knuckle Duster brings to Koichi's life, Knuckle Duster takes pride in mentoring the young man, nurturing him into becoming a great hero, despite the vigilante lifestyle. If you'd like to learn about Knuckle Duster's story a bit more, you should check out my video about him. I take a huge dive into his backstory, and you might find out why he has a good handle on mobility quirks. Unlike his sensei, Koichi tends to be a rather calm person, sometimes accidentally making light of dangerous situations, being that he's willing to have a dialogue with thugs and petty criminals. His playful banter is very reminiscent to the vigilante that we know in our American comics. You know exactly who I'm talking about. I'm talking about the webhead himself, Spider-Man. And at the same time, Koichi is very quick to help whenever there's a real need for his abilities against villains, showing that he can be attentive as well as calm. A small little example of this is when he defended Eraserhead against a next level villain. Despite Eraser's pleas for him to get out of the area, without Koichi, Eraserhead would be dead, leading Eraserhead to actually take time to learn about the vigilante and impart some advice upon him. Though Eraserhead isn't the only pro hero he's gotten himself involved with, as the pro hero from America who's known as Captain Celebrity comes to Japan to rebuild his persona as a hero, only to encounter our vigilantes of Naruhata. He takes a liking to Koichi after a discussion that they had about what justice truly means. And when they save hundreds of people together, CC has to take all of the credit. But that day on the Sky Egg, before All Might showed up, the hero who helped Captain Celebrity that day was Koichi. Though there is one particular pro hero that Koichi formed a bond with, and they're from the agency of Idaten. The lead hero of that agency is the turbo hero, Ingenio. That's right, the brother to Idatenya, Ida Tensei. They meet one morning when Koichi is out for a morning stroll using his quirk, and Koichi is immediately taken aback, thinking that a pro hero just caught him using his quirk, and not only any pro hero, but the one pro hero speed-wise that he cannot get away from. Fortunately enough, this isn't the case, and Tensei actually is intrigued by Koichi's tenacity, offering him a card for his agency and telling him that there are actually special circumstances for sidekicks, and that when he finishes college, he should really consider coming to his agency. Cause deep down, Koichi dreams of being a recognized hero, and he's shown to enjoy the vigilante work that he does. But when he assists the agency of Idaten in the apprehension of a bat villain, Tensei catches on very quickly that this is his running mate, and the following morning, he has to let Koichi know that he's glad that he found his own way. But unfortunately, he's gonna need the card back, as his agency can't be known to work with unlicensed vigilantes. It kinda hurts Koichi's feelings, only to have Tensei cheer him up by encouraging him to keep doing what he's doing, and egging him on to have a high-speed quirk race to end the chapter. And despite everything, he refuses to give up doing these small tasks and deeds. That's just not the type of person that he is, showing that he doesn't want to be a hero for fame or money, but out of a genuine desire to help society and other people. This is like the main quality that the hero killer Stain admonishes him for, while in his Stendhal persona, before, trying to kill him. And as of the most recent chapter, time is actually skipped about 3.5 or 4 years ahead or so, and we're seeing Koichi's story slowly come to a close. And in fact, during his college exit interview, he said that he was just willing to do some janitorial work. And in the beginning, we kind of think it's a cover, but he reiterates this to Popstep, who's taken aback by Koichi wanting to end his time as the Crawler. The chapter ends with one last costume change and one last patrol. He dons his last special edition hoodie, his All Might Dark version, where to the average reader, you might just see this as a black uniform, but I see it as him giving homage to the two people that gave him the will to put on a hero outfit, All Might and his sensei, Knuckle Duster. But that's gonna do it for this video, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed the video, and I promise we're gonna get around to learning more about these characters in this particular universe. I was really inspired recently to make a video about Tsukauchi and his sister, being that they have tons of scenes in Vigilantes where we could actually learn about their quirks and why they're so fitting for the positions that they hold. Anyways, that's it for me. I'll catch you all on the flip side. And if you see Batman anywhere, let him know that the Joker's been hanging out outside my damn bar again.